What's up, gamers? It's Above, back with another video. We are just 24 hours away from raid day in the Deep Stone Crypt. For those of you who don't know, the raid will be launching tomorrow at 10 a.m., November 21st. I am so hyped. The boys in Clan Obtained and myself have been working so hard all year. We're going to try and go get that belt for you guys. So if you're hyped, make sure you smash that like button. Today's video will be covering my recommended weapons in both the kinetic, energy, and power weapon slots. If you guys don't really know what to use and you're kind of looking for recommendations, hopefully you guys find this helpful. Just remember that these recommendations are just a tool. Weapons won't help carry you through the day one experience. You still want to play well with your teammates, keep a level head, and play your life. That's going to be the most important thing. Lastly, use what you're comfortable with. If some of these recommendations you aren't really familiar with, you're like, oh, they look like they could be good, but you don't really know how to use them, play with what you're comfortable with, enjoy your experience, and let's get into the video. Kicking it off, my wild card. It's actually going to be Thorn. If you guys have not used this weapon, don't use it. If you've been using it this week with the Necrotic Grip, you know how good this weapon is. I'm going to be using it on my Stasis build so I can freeze and poison targets. For those of you who don't know, Thorn and Necrotic Grip work together. Thorn Final Blows will actually spread poison off of the Necrotic Grip perk, which is nuts. The ad clear on these is insane. It can also use the Unstoppable perk, which can be helpful for champions in the raid since we don't know what champions are going to be in there just yet. I highly recommend you use this if you do enjoy Thorn in PvE. Massively underrated. Soul Devourer is also insane for ad clear on majors. So if you have used this, again, highly recommend. That's my wild card. Moving on, Long Shadow, one of the most farmable and meta snipers in the game. This 90 RPM sniper is very, very good. I would say if you're going to use a legendary sniper, this would be my go-to. Mine has Snapshot and Triple Tap. I like Snapshot. It makes it much more usable for me at shorter ranges, especially on majors that are rushing you and things like that. A lot of the sites are very, very lackluster in terms of handling, and I personally love the short zoom scope on this one. A lot of them are the frickin' Hubble telescope, like this guy here. Look at that thing, dude. What is that? But anyway, so look for short zoom. That's what I would recommend. Most important perk, Triple Tap, and you can choose between Rapid Hit or Snapshot in this perk column. The one thing that I would recommend, if you don't have one, go farm it at the Gunsmith, Shax, or Zavala. You can turn in tokens or Gunsmith materials to get one. Go farm it right now. Moving on to Dire Promise, probably the best legendary hand cannon in the game, especially in the kinetic slot. Post sunsetting, pretty much the only option in my opinion. If you need unstop mods in the raid and there are champions that you need to deal with, this is a great option. You have the 900 RPM Escape Velocity SMG, can run Overflow and Surrounded. You can also run Overflow and Vorpal. That's totally personal preference. Again, a great perk pool. Both Dire and Escape Velocity can drop from any of the general vendors in the tower, so make sure you go pick one up if you don't have them already. Wither Horde is a great option if you guys are diving into Warmind Cell builds. This thing is a Warmind Cell generating machine. It also is amazing at zone control, so if there are areas that ads are just pouring out of, Wither Horde will be a top tier option. As for Hailing Confusion, this is a pulse rifle that is brand new with Beyond Light. It comes from Varix on Europa. It has a great perk pool as well. Demolitionist and Surplus is the one that I got, so I either have abilities up all the time, or my weapon will have handling, reload, pretty much maxed out at any point that I'm not using my abilities. So it's a pretty nice trade-off, really nice feeling pulse rifle if you don't have it. And if you don't have that, you haven't had a good roll drop just yet, you can always use the Sacred Providence. Aggressive burst pulses have been very useful in previous day one raids. I highly recommend this one specifically if you have the rapid hit kill clip roll. Kill clip on underleveled content, highest initial damage burst in the game for an immediate reward on kill. So if you guys need help clearing ads and you want to do so from a distance, Sacred Providence is top tier. To no one's surprise, Izanagi's Burden makes an appearance. The best weapon in the game, in my opinion, hands down. Amazing for burst damage on bosses, amazing for burst damage on champions, majors. The ammo economy is fantastic with special finishers. Use this weapon if you can. Moving on, Breach Light. If you're a sidearm fan, this is the only option in my opinion, especially in the kinetic slot. Aggressive Burst is the best archetype. If you were around during Season of Dawn, this is where that came from. And it can roll with Demolitionist and Rampage. This is the role that I went with personally. You're getting ability energy constantly, and Rampage is also stacking damage. It's already very good on underleveled content in terms of being able to take down ads, so with Rampage and also getting your nade back constantly, very useful. And then Huckleberry. This is the best exotic SMG in the game, probably the best SMG in the game, period. Has the OG Rampage that stacks up to 67% damage buff. Insane for ad clear. If you guys have the Catalyst, you'll be able to gen orbs and can also slot anti-barrier for champions in Deep Stone Crypt. Moving on to the energy slot, the first weapon up is Adored. This is new with Beyond Light, and it's the ritual weapon this season. It comes with a curated roll of Triple Tap and Vorpal, as well as options of Snapshot and Killing Wind, but for PvE, this is going to be the roll you want to go with. It also will be great against arc shields in the raid, and snipers are always very good. 90 RPM, again, the best archetype for PvE in my opinion. Ikelos SMG, my favorite SMG in the game personally, the one that I will be using a lot on day one in various builds. Ikelos SMG is great for genning Warmind cells. I'm not a huge Warmind cell user myself. However, Global Reach is a 1-point mod that is fantastic for ad clear, so it's just a bonus to using this weapon. Can also slot the anti-barrier submachine gun perk that pairs with the armor, so great option. Gnawing Hunger, if you were able to get the curated roll, or even any other roll, honestly, from the Recaster last season, with any damage perks such as Rampage, I highly recommend using this one. Great for ad clear. It will be an ad clear machine. The only downside is if there are a bunch of champions in the raid, this will not benefit you as ARs do not have anti-barrier this season. First in, last out, slugs are very meta. It's also arc, which is great against Fallen. My role is auto-loading and Vorpal. This is a great weapon, hands down. The ammo economy is fantastic on slugs. Another great option for a special weapon if you're looking for something in up-close encounters. Nation of Beasts, it's the only hand cannon I have in this slot, other than Ariana's Vow, which I don't really consider to be a hand cannon. But again, arc, great against Fallen, can slot the Unstop mod as well. Outlaw Dragonfly, this comes from the Morgoth encounter. This is the curated roll from Last Wish. Great hand cannon for ad clear. Pretty much the only one I would recommend in this slot. Stars and Shadow. This is the new pulse rifle from Crucible this season with Beyond Light. Fantastic pulse. High impact frame pulses are nuts, especially for ad clear from long range during day one raiding. Kill Clip, again, as I said with Sacred Provenance, is an amazing perk in underleveled content. It helps you mow through ads, and chaining it with Outlaw on this role specifically is nuts. If you're able to farm this one out before day one, I very, very highly recommend it, especially because a lot of the big shanks will have solar shields. Divinity, you only need one of these in your fire team. However, it's a great tool to use against overload champions, and even just for general boss DPS phases, you can have one person on this while everyone else does damage. It will buff your damage, and it makes the crit spots much easier to hit. Truth Teller, I highly recommend this weapon. The only downside is it is very difficult to get a good roll on this. The two that I would recommend, auto-loading is fantastic. If you have Disruption Break on it, you hit the jackpot. The two grenade types that you're looking for are either Blinding or Spike. If you have either of those, this is a great option for day one. Blinding, in terms of utility, probably the strongest in the game at the moment. Ariana's Vow, just for anti-barrier champions and major clear in general. The ammo economy is fantastic, so if you have one person on your team running this, again, a great option for anti-barrier champions. And then Risk Runner, the only exotic SMG I will recommend outside of Huckleberry. This thing is nuts, and against Fallen, when you're taking a lot of arc damage, it will actually give you damage resistance while that arc damage is being taken, and it will also refund ammo into the magazine, so the ad clear on this thing is pretty nutty as well. And now for the power slot. This is where a lot of the money is made on day ones. These are very important decisions, especially because most of the time this is where your major DPS comes from, or what helps you stay alive against some of the most powerful champions in the raid. So Thermal Erosion, this is the new LMG with Beyond Light. This comes from Varix on Europa. Amazing LMG, especially because of the perk Wellspring. If you can get Wellspring on this LMG, do it. Make sure you farm this out before day one. Again, there will be a lot of solar shields in the raid if we are fighting Fallen, so this is a fantastic option. 900 RPM, same as Delirium. Go farm this out. If you guys haven't had the chance to get an Interference, again, great weapon. Auto-loading full court is probably the best damage roll you can get, I would say. This is my replacement for Wendigo, although it doesn't have blinding. In terms of total damage and hot swapping with Izanagi's, this will be a great option for boss encounters on day 1. I wouldn't really use it outside of anything other than that. Falling Guillotine, if you're able to get up close and personal in this raid against champions, if there's smaller encounters that are very, very up close and personal, I highly recommend this weapon. It came from the Recaster last season. You can no longer get it, so if you're heading into the day 1 raid and you don't have this, unfortunately there's not a way to farm it, but you can use other swords in the game that you can farm from just the general vendors in the tower, in which case I would recommend Relentless and Whirlwind, which other swords can also roll. Anarchy, probably the best heavy in the game, in my opinion. Its utility and ammo economy is unmatched. The fact that you can use this as just passive damage to play safe against champions once they're stunned, and also pair it with other weapons to do continuous damage, so something like the Adored, or Long Shadow as well. I mean, this weapon is amazing. And again, a lot of arc shields in the raid. I know I've said it a million times in this video, but Anarchy is nuts. Xenophage, amazing against majors. If there's an encounter where you're moving quickly and there's a bunch of majors in the encounter, it's not really a boss damage encounter, this would be a fantastic option. You can pair this with Divinity, which is an absolutely nutty combo. So if you have someone running Div and a couple Xenophages, you will mow down ads. Whisper is basically all reliable. This is a weapon that will put out a ton of total damage. It's not going to be a burst damage option, but if there is a boss with a massive health pool, this will be a great, great option for sustained damage. Thunderlord, the best ad clear weapon in the game. This thing is nuts in terms of just pure ad clear ability. If you want to run something like Long Shadow and then the Pulse Rifle and then maybe an LMG just for ad clear encounters where you're kind of running and gunning similar to First Encounter in Garden of Salvation, this is a fantastic option. Tractor, if you guys don't have other debuffs, this is great. You can also run Unstopped Shotgun and you can suppress enemies with this. Always a great option in day 1 raiding. 7th Seraph Saw, this came from Season of Worthy. This is a Warmind Cell weapon. If you don't have this, it is not currently farmable. However, if you do have it, it can also spawn Warmind cells. It's not my favorite archetype, but it's Arc, which will be very good in this raid if it is a fallen raid. And High Impact Frame is pretty good for underleveled content. It hits pretty hard, so definitely a nice go-to option there. And then 1000 Voices. This thing is nutty for burst damage. If you have this, it comes from the Last Wish raid. This is a great exotic. If you do have it, it's become more meta as other heavy weapons have kind of been notched down a little bit. It's kind of risen back into the meta. So if you guys want to run this, this is also a great option as well. And that concludes my preferred weapon loadouts in each slot heading into the Deep Stone Crypt raid. If you guys found this video useful, please consider liking and subscribing. It really does help me out. I hope you guys all have a wonderful time on raid day. Cherish this time with your friends, and remember, at the end of the day, it's just a game, so go out there and enjoy it. If you guys aren't able to raid on day 1 and you're looking to get your hands on a raid jacket, I will be doing helps all week next week. A few days with Clyde, as well as Evan at twitch.tv/AboveTP. We'll be helping people getting their raid jackets pretty much all week long, so if you don't already follow, head on over there, drop a follow, and hop in the queue. We'll get you that raid jacket, and I hope you guys have a wonderful, wonderful day. Peace!